Qualified Intermediary, we often have clients ask us questions about things that tend to focus on the common 1031 exchange myths. One of the most common myths that we hear clients talk about is the idea that if they are selling a condo, they need to buy another condo. Or if they're selling a single-family investment property, they need to buy another single-family investment property. And that's not true. Like kind in a real estate 1031 exchange is actually very broad. All business or investment real estate is like kind to all other business or investment real estate. The only real caveat there is that domestic U.S. property is not like kind to foreign investment property. So you can't sell a property in the United States and buy a property, for example, in Belize. Another common myth is that your attorney or your CPA can be your 1031 exchange. And while you might trust your attorney or CPA to do that work for you, the 1031 exchange regulations make it very clear that your attorney, your CPA, family members, and certain business partners are disqualified from being your qualified intermediary. Another common myth is that when you sell your investment property, you only need to reinvest the profits. So for example, if you bought the property for $100,000 and you're now selling it for $200,000, you only need to do a 1031 exchange with that new $100,000 in gain. And that's not true. Similarly, clients sometimes believe that if they sell the property for $200,000 and pay off a $50,000 mortgage, they only need to reinvest the $150,000 in cash that was left over. Also not true. According to the IRS regulations, you need to trade equal or up in total fair market value. That means basically contract price to contract price. So it's not just the gain, and it's not just the cash left over after expenses. You need to reinvest every dollar after some allowance for certain eligible 1031 exchange expenses. Another common question that we face from clients is that a 1031 exchange must be a swap. The person who is buying my property must also be selling me their property, and that's not true. Since 1991, the regulations have made it clear that I can sell my first investment property to one person, and I can buy my second investment property from a different person. So it becomes a three-party transaction, not just a two-party swap. Another common myth is that I could do a 1031 exchange with my vacation home. And while in some limited circumstances that might be true, for most people it's not. If your vacation home truly is your vacation home, and it's only been used as a vacation home, and there's never been any attempt at rentals, it won't qualify for 1031 exchange. However, if during the last 2 years you've made at least reasonable attempts to rent the property, you've rented it out for a minimum of 14 days, and you've used it not more than either 14 days or 10% of the time that you've rented it, in this case it would be 14 days, then you could do a 1031 exchange. But its primary use must be investment, not vacation home. 1031 exchanges are just for wealthy investors, and that's not true. In fact, in 2019, the median price of a 1031 exchange property being sold was only $575,000. That's not wealthy investors. That's not Warren Buffett. That's folks like you and me. $575,000 was the median investment property sale price. We've handled 1031 exchanges for properties as low as $100,000 or sometimes even lower. And 1031 exchanges far higher, of course. But if you recognize that it's not just for wealthy investors and you have a 1031 exchange eligible property, it is something to consider.